Hi everyone, it's Danny. Okay, so a viewer of mine has asked me how to properly bring an orchid from the outside into your home. Presumably you kept your orchids outside for the summer and now winter is coming and you need to bring them into your house because of frost reasons. So what are the steps to take in order to ensure that our orchid will adapt to our home and be healthy? Now, the issue I see with bringing orchids into your home back from the outside is not necessarily of adaptation to a new environment, since the orchid most probably is not in bloom and it's not in danger of losing its buds and flowers. There are other things that you need to keep into mind when you're bringing your orchid into the house, and they have to do with critters and all of that the orchid might have acquired while being outside. Now, keeping orchids outside is actually beneficial because they do like open air, they do like the light and temperature, possibly if you're living in a temperate zone or somewhere where it's not super hot. But most probably your orchid has some parasites and pests that you need to take care of before you introduce it back into your collection or into your growing space. Now, the first thing I would do is clean its leaves because most probably they are pretty dusty from staying outside. Now, you can do this in two ways. You can shower your orchid and if it's warm enough and the orchid has enough time to dry off until nighttime or in a few hours, I'll just shower it very well and put it back in its place. But if the temperature is not so great and you're afraid that you might cause some rotting if you leave the water standing too much, you can take a cotton bud and just wipe the leaves with water or with lemon juice, because the lemon juice will take off the salt deposits that might have remained on the leaves. So the first thing to do is remove all the dust. Now, the second thing to do is ensure that your orchid is pest-free inside the leaves and in the crevices and all of that. Now, you can use an insecticide if you do use insecticides. I personally don't, and what I do is I use either insecticidal soap, which is actually a sort of a detergent, or actual dish detergent, but I use a mild one. It's a bio one anyway. It's not super strong, so I would spray that all over the plant and just leave it there. Now, the bugs on the leaves are not the only bugs you can have. Because they were outside and maybe on a porch or somewhere where snails could have gotten into the pot, I would just try to make sure there are no snails in the media. Now, the best way to deal with snails or other critters I've discovered is to use hydrogen peroxide. So I would just try to place it in a bowl that will cover the entire pot, or in a ceramic pot, a decorative pot without holes, and just fill it to the brim with hydrogen peroxide 3%. You can use this concentration directly from the bottle and your orchid will be okay. You can find hydrogen peroxide in many countries at the pharmacies. Some countries have an interdiction, as far as I understand, for hydrogen peroxide. And unfortunately, I don't know how to deal with snails without hydrogen peroxide because I don't want to use those toxic beads. But if you don't have a choice, maybe you can find some bio beads that you can place on the media, because most probably an orchid that has been outside has indeed some snail problems. Now, the snails can actually kill off your orchid in a matter of time if they multiply, but also they can spread to other plants and other orchids, so they really are an issue you have to deal with. So if you have hydrogen peroxide, I would just soak the pot in hydrogen peroxide 3% for a minute or so, let it fizz a bit, and then drain it very well and put it back in its place. And lastly, of course, try to place your orchid in a location that still receives bright light and the temperature is not too hot or not too cold. Room temperature is fine for an orchid that has been outside. It's not going to suffer because of that. This is at least my opinion. So I hope you found this useful, and thank you for sending in the question. If you guys have any other questions for me, just leave me a comment and I'll try to make a video for you if I have what to show you. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos, and visit orchidnature.com if you want to talk to our community. I'll see you next time. Bye!